Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Chris, the podcast. I am Matthew Farrenby and I'm here with my dad.
Sunny Farumbi.
And yeah, it looks like here we have the World Baseball Classic just finished up.
Yeah, that ended last night. As of the time we are recording this, the final between Japan and the United States.
US, okay.
Yeah, happened last night, and the Japanese won. So, what do you make of that?
I mean, I don't know what was the score. I haven't really kept up
3-2.
with three. Oh, so it was a close game then.
It was close.
Close and not even high scoring too. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the current players that are on the Japan team. How many of those play in the major leagues in the US?
Quite a few of them. Quite a
Okay.
few. Well,
I know for the US it would be basically all of them. So.
yeah, definitely. But the main thing that I saw, because I saw maybe the first 5 or 6 innings of it, the Japanese pitchers were very good.
Okay.
They were very very good, and there was one of them. The commentators were saying he's just about 20 years old,
Oh wow.
and he was throwing high 90s and some serious curveballs that they were just swinging and missing.
Who do they have pitch or start pitching for US?
I don't remember his name, honestly. But well, he was okay too, but I think he gave up. The starter gave up a run or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
actually, US scored the first run,
Okay.
and then they came back and scored 2. I think it was 2-1 when I stopped watching it, but I saw that at the end it was 3 to 2. Yeah.
Yeah. Besides the US and US territories, I think Japan is like bigger. The other big country that's like big on baseball.
Oh yes, yeah.
So-
They have a baseball league, very similar to the major leagues. In fact, it looks like most of the Japanese players, virtually all of them, I think, who play in the major leagues, they were stars in the Japanese league. Shohei Ohtani, which is the plays for the Angels,
Okay.
the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, I think is their full name. Is both a pitcher and a hitter.
Oh, so okay.
Yeah, so he actually, if he's not pitching every 5 days, he's a very, very dominant pitcher too. If he's not pitching every 5 days, he's in the lineup as the DH.
Oh, so they actually have him as the DH then?
Oh yeah,
Okay. Because I know with the new rules, like the pitcher doesn't hit anymore.
Oh yeah,
So-
definitely, yeah. Well, they are in the American League anyway.
Okay.
The Angels are in the American League,
Yeah.
so they never hit. The pitchers never hit over there. But since he came, because he's so good on both sides, when he's not pitching, he's a DH. And I don't think I've seen their game. I think even when he's pitching, he still hits. He's in the
Okay.
lineup to hit because he's that good. And I saw him. I don't know whether it was in the semifinal against Mexico. They took Mexico out. I think he hit a home run, if I remember, 2 days ago. And then, actually, the matchup that people were waiting for actually happened at the end of the game against the U.S. yesterday between him and Mike Trout. Both of them play for the Angels.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are teammates. And Mike Trout, as most people know, is a powerful hitter. And I think it happened at the bottom of the ninth, 2 outs. So it was the last out. And Shohei Ohtani pitched the 9th inning to get the save. He was brought in to pitch the 9th inning, and he struck out Mike Trout to end the game. So, and the funny thing is, even the Cardinals had a player on the Japanese team,
Okay.
Lars Nudba, who actually I think his mom is Japanese. He's American.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he grew up in California. Well, I think he was born here, but he said to honor his mom, he wanted to play for the Japanese team. He was their leader hitter, and it was a classic game. No, I'm kind of bummed that US didn't win, but hey, it was a good game. It was a good game. So I'm thinking, actually, for me, I'm looking at that game, watching the game. I'm looking at many of those Japanese players, the pitchers, even their hitters. There was one of them, I forgot his name, that actually hit the home run. He hit the home run that scored the first run for them yesterday. They said he's only 23, and he's already won the MVP twice in the Japanese league.
Okay.
He's good. He's good. So
So I also wonder what it takes for them to move to the MLB, or do they? I don't know how much they get paid over there, but I can't imagine it's as much as the U.S.
yeah, it's probably not as much, but I think they probably have a way. The Major League Baseball probably have a way to maybe get them transferred or buy their contract or something. Because I know like Shohei Otani and even Ichiro Suzuki, who has retired now.
Yeah.
Most of them, from what I heard, most of them were stars in the Japanese league, and they found a way. They caught the eye of major league teams. So I believe that with this World Baseball Classic that just ended, and playing the Japanese team in the final, that many of them will have caught the eye of teams in Major League Baseball. And
Right.
I would not be surprised if over the next year or two, we'll see some of those players playing in the major leagues. So
Got it.
yeah, so that's kind of interesting to see that. But I think it's a nice tee for the Major League Baseball season that's about to start.
Right.
Starts at the end of the month. So yeah,
Okay, so should we hop into our main topic here?
yeah. Let's do that. You wanted to talk about cancel culture, which is an interesting one. So, what is it? What is cancel culture?
Yeah, I was going to ask you the same thing. I kind of interested to hear what you define as cancel culture or being canceled.
Well, at least from everything that we've been hearing over the last, I think maybe last few years, from my understanding, this cancel culture is the idea of taking away support or withdrawing support for someone, whatever that support look like, for someone to be boycotted. That's the way I say it. So it could be the support that people are withdrawing could be support for their popularity, for example, for their fame, for their career, or it could be for their product or for their service or something. Like we mentioned briefly in the previous podcast about Kanye's shoes, or I don't know whether you can call it shoes. It looks like some footwear, kind of. So I would define cancel culture as at least to my understanding, something that takes away that support for someone boycotting them. And it looks like it's usually because of something they have said or they have done that cause people to try to withdraw that support.
And I would agree. I'd actually take it forward to say that it's taking away public support. Because I know sometimes with especially like musicians, people say, oh yeah, I don't listen to so-and-so anymore because of what they did in public or in Twitter or whatever. But like when no one's there, they're still like listening to the songs, and obviously the people are still like getting paid for the streamings and stuff. So there's a lot of people who publicly will be like, oh yeah, we shouldn't listen to so-and-so or shouldn't do this, but like secretly you can they're still
that's interesting though.
And I think that's a pretty, I don't want to say pretty common, but I feel like there's a lot of people who do that though with cancel culture, and we can kind of dive deep into it.
That's it's kind of dishonest. It looks dishonest to me. If you are coming out in the public and saying, okay, we need to withdraw support for this person, not listen to their song or not buy their product because of this thing, and then you are secretly doing it. So what's the end goal? It looks like the end goal is not actually to boycott the thing. At least from your perspective, is to prevent others from enjoying whatever it is. It doesn't make sense to me. It's just,
I think it's almost about I don't know what the word is, but it's just to almost save face, to make sure, like, because a lot of times, like we said, when people are canceled, it's usually because they did something maybe wrong or something that perceived as wrong in the past. So the people who cancel them are usually going to be like, I don't want people to think I'm associated with that type of behavior. So they'll be like, oh, well, I don't listen to so and so.
So they come out and said, okay, we need to cancel this person, we need to boycott the service.
Yeah.
But they don't want to do it. It's almost like kind of a mob mentality kind of a thing.
Yeah, that's very much cancel culture.
You want to go with the mob. You want to go with the mob.
Yeah.
You don't want to be seen as against the mob, what the mob wants. Still, no. Secretly, you are not really agreeing with the mob. You are just agreeing in public and still doing whatever it is. That's, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. For me, that kind of reeks of dishonesty, lack of integrity. But, well, I don't know. The people who counsel other people, well, I don't know what to say. What more to say about that?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of hypocrisy within cancel culture because it's obviously I'm all for it, holding people accountable for the things they've done and making sure they address that and things like that. But like you said, when it's only about like saving face or making sure that you're not perceived a certain way, it's not about actually holding that person accountable. It's definitely a lot different.
What that tells me is that more often than not, the people that are being counseled or the people that are counseling other people, not all of them buys into the reason why people are being counseled.
Yeah, and that's a common thing, especially with, I think Twitter is probably the most common place where people get like canceled, I guess, in quotes. But a lot of people who are sometimes jump on the bad bandwagon for like canceling people don't even know like what the person's being canceled for. They're just like, oh yeah, so and so is canceled now, so they just like hop on the bandwagon and it's like, oh yeah, and this kind of further that
so what exactly is the rationale for that though? That's what I don't understand, because it's not like it's not like if people say let's cancel somebody, it's not like if you don't agree with them there's repercussions for you. If you just not say anything and and think, okay, I don't believe in that, I'm still going to patronize their product or service or something, but not say anything to anyone, it's not like there's any repercussion. So why do people go ahead and say, yes, let's counsel them and speak out, while secretly they are not doing what they say they are doing? Yeah,
and it's also, I mean, with social media, it's kind of weird because you say there's no repercussions, with which there really isn't, but sometimes people on social media will be like, if you don't say anything, they'll call people out for it. Like I remember with the Black Lives Matter, like posting the black square, which I remember that ended up being a whole nother thing. But the people who like didn't post, they're like, oh yeah, why didn't you post? You didn't say anything, blah blah blah, all this stuff. So like nowadays, it's like people, if you say nothing, it can almost be like, I don't want to say worse, but can be perceived as bad by.
But who are the people that people are holding that against? So if you don't say something, usually it's not. I don't think it's ordinary people like me, right? Black square, black rectangle, whatever. I never posted anything like that. Honestly, I didn't get any backlash because, well, nobody knows me. So I'm thinking from what you're saying, it's maybe very well-known people, influential people, also influencers, as they say. Maybe they are the ones that people expect that they should say something. And funnily enough, these are the same people that are almost susceptible to being cancelled, I think. Right? The people that are famous, that are influencers, that are there's a high likelihood that they may be cancelled. They are also the ones that people may subject to exactly what you are talking about, hold them responsible and say, why are you not saying something about this? But honestly, I don't know. Maybe we have too many fake people these days.
Yeah, definitely.
It kind of surprises me. Okay, that's another thing though, because we talked about people being counseled for maybe they did something or said something that it's acceptable. Because who defines what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, for example? And I think that may actually depend on who or you ask. Yes, I understand that there are some behaviors or there are some sayings, maybe something that is blatantly racist or sexist or something that incites violence or something like that. No, I think there are some big ones that you can say, okay, people should not do that. But
Right.
apart from that, it seems that people get counsel for anything these days. Somebody may just decide, and that's why I call it mob mentality before.
Yeah.
I don't know who incites the mob,
Yeah.
but for whatever reason, one person or a couple of people say something, and after a while, a group of people just, kind of goes after it, and before you know it, it inflames everyone.
Right. Yeah, and also like going back to what you said before about I forgot what you said exactly, but kind of the mob mentality and like regular people usually don't get canceled. They can, I guess, on social media in a sense if you have, I don't know, enough people who disagree with you. But that's also like what happened with, I mean, Dave Chappelle has been canceled for different things. But I think the most recent one that I remember was one of his specials. He talked about the like LGBTQ. He made jokes about that. And then even in his special, he said like, I think he might have said they'll cancel me for this, and then he said something in one of his specials that Twitter's not a real place. Because it's like, I thought it was so funny because it's like,
Yeah.
it's not. Because it's like,
Yeah.
I think it was like the next week or two, it was trending on Twitter that he's canceled. And then later, maybe like a couple months or a month later, he had another like show that still sold out. So it's it's like one of those things
So-
where it's like, yeah, it's Twitter and social media it's always, I think it goes back almost to the fake thing because there's definitely
Yeah.
some people who will cancel him but it's like, oh well, I still like Dave Chappelle, but
Yeah.
I'm still gonna go to the show, but not say anything.
Well, I guess enough people, if he was canceled and 2 weeks later his show was sold out, that means that whatever the cancellation is doesn't really have any effect. So, and that's the thing. So all this cancel culture, does it really have any long-lasting effect
Right.
on the people being cancelled? I think, I don't know which episode of the podcast we mentioned Kanye West,
Right.
or Ye as it's called now,
Yeah.
about Adidas trying to, after they stopped selling his footwear, and then now trying to have over $1 billion worth of the products that they want to get rid of. And I think you mentioned, if I remember correctly, that when they actually stopped selling it, the prices went up. The prices went up because now there is no low demand, and then it pushes prices up. If there's low demand, the only reason price will go up, low supply. If there's low supply when Adidas stopped selling the product, the only reason prices will go up is because demand is either at the same level or is higher.
Yeah.
Or higher. And so that begs the question, if he was cancelled and everybody was, and I heard a lot of people saying, Adidas should stop their, cancel their contract or something. And they did that.
Right.
Why is there so much high demand for the footwear?
Right. And I also want to preface that I'm definitely for holding people accountable for what they've said and done, especially like we said, if that's something that's explicitly wrong or that you disagree with. But I think, like we talked about, it's the fakeness and this almost just like sense of, I don't even know how to put it, but like people just feel the need to like just gather people and just like go after someone sometimes. And that's like, I wanted to talk about a little bit about Kevin Hart, the thing that with him that happened like a few years ago.
Actually, don't remember. I remember something happened with him. I don't know the specifics of it. Do you remember that?
Yeah. So as far as I know, I think it was one of these award shows that he was supposed to host. And then it was like either weeks or months leading up to it. Someone brought up a tweet or something he had said like years prior, like probably like I want to say maybe close to like 5+ years ago, and they're like, well, Kevin Hart shouldn't be hosting the Oscars because he said dot
Said
dot
this.
dot. And so like that whole thing, he got canceled, and for him there was repercussions because like they took away his ability to host, and then like I think there was other things that happened with his shows, but like things like that where it's like, yes, I'm for holding people accountable, but like when it's like so long ago, like most of us are not the same person we were even like a year ago sometimes.
And
So-
more often than not, I remember the Kevin Hart one now, but I've even heard of other ones who, even if they said what they said, they had actually apologized.
Yeah, I think that was the
They
same
had
thing with Kevin Hart. He had
they
addressed
actually-
it, and
yeah, I don't know if he apologized at the time or when the backlash started happening for cancellation is when he apologized. But I don't think it even matters. It
Right.
matters whether the apology was before or present. It reminds me of the guy that hosts the Jeopardy show, Ken Jennings. Also, I remember when after Alex Trebek died and they were looking for replacement hosts for the show, and they had this different people hosting for a couple of weeks each time. When it seems at the beginning, because Ken Jennings, I think, was the first guest host. He hosted for about 6 weeks or something, for a whole number of weeks before everybody else was doing 2 weeks. When people thought it may be Ken Jennings at the time, then they resurfaced something he said, I don't know, probably close to 10 years ago.
right.
And which actually, when some kind of backlash came in at that time, he apologized for it right then. And then people went to exhume the thing and brought it back to life and started saying this, that it should not be the host because of this and because of that. I think maybe that did not gather a lot of momentum. It gathered some, not a lot, because by the time he finished the guest hosting and all the other people guest hosted also, when they came back at the end and they said the hosting duty is going to be shared between him and Mayim Bialik, I don't think there was any backlash. Now he's probably the main. The two of them still share hosting duties.
Right.
But if you look at people who watch Jeopardy a lot, they actually prefer him to Mayim Bialik because of some tendencies that she has to delay giving answers or something like that. So that's a different thing altogether. But all I'm saying is that when some of these backlashes come, it may gather some momentum, but it does not seem to really have a long-lasting effect. Whether it's it may have immediate effect, maybe in the case of Kevin Hart, that because there was a hosting right there at that time, so the Oscars people pulled their hosting offer from him. But that's the funny thing. Apart from that, it looks like on the long run, it doesn't really have much long-lasting effect on
Yeah,
people.
and this prompts a question for me, and now I guess I'll ask you: is like, should it then? Because I think there's kind of both sides. That should there be a more long-lasting effect when something like that happens, or should people just like forget about it? I know it's kind of situational sometimes too. So, what do you think about?
My first thought is that there's room for forgiveness. So I don't think it should be. But as I'm saying that, I'm thinking there may be a few exceptions to that.
Yeah.
Where even if it's forgiven, depending on what it is. Okay. And the reason I'm saying this is this. I think the term canceling someone became a thing, I don't know, a few years ago with the Me Too movement. That's when it became much more prominent. I think it's been around before then.
Right.
With the Me Too movement, when some public figures like what's his name, Harvey Weinstein, and some people were accused of sexual abuse that has gone on for years, maybe even decades, and many of these women who have been sexually abused, were coming out, and that one That one I will say maybe there is no there may be forgiveness, but I think people still need to be held accountable
Right.
for what they did, especially to those women, because they were not given a voice. That's the thing. The women were not given. They were not given a voice. The kind of culture when that was happening, allowed, in a way, kept them silent and allowed the men to do what they did to them. So now, when the Me Too movement came out and they started coming out, I think that one, even if there's, and I strongly believe in forgiveness, I think there are repercussions to
There
what.
definitely has to be accountability.
Yes, there are repercussions for what we do.
Yeah.
So, and I think Harvey Weinstein has gone to jail for, I know a few decades or something. He's been sentenced to jail because of that, because of those atrocities, those crimes that he committed. So, looking at that, those are the exceptions that I would say. But I think for most other stuff, people said something, no matter how egregious or whatever it is. Like you said, we all grow. We are learning every day. We are not the same, especially people who really are growing and learning. Not everyone is growing and learning.
Right.
If you are and you realize, okay, something I did yesterday or last week or last year or 10 years ago may not reflect who I am now, you can apologize for it. You can move on. And so I don't think it should have that long-lasting effect, with the exception of, once again, a couple of cases like the issue of sexual abuse, that people need to be held accountable because of how it impacted other people.
Yeah, and that's something I wanted to bring up. Like you said, it's like cancel culture doesn't allow any room for growth. Because like someone who either maybe they said something in the past or maybe it was even last week, when people say something and hold them to that thing, I was like, nope, we're not going to let you have any type of platform. For them, it can almost be more of a detriment, because it's like, even if they do apologize, it's more so just to save face. Because it's like, well, people are saying this about me, I don't want them to perceive this way. Even if I'm not fully willing to change, I'm just going to say something just so people don't perceive me a certain way.
Yeah.
So...
Well, I think for people, we mentioned this earlier, that I don't think people like you and I can get canceled. Well, maybe you, not me. You have thousands of followers on Twitter. I can't even say you can count it in hundreds, maybe 100 and something. I don't know, but quite a few. So I know I'm not the kind of person that will easily get canceled, because my footprint on social media is very, very small.
Right.
So, but given that, the people that are susceptible to being cancelled, like you said, they will definitely want to try to save face sometimes, even if they don't mean the apology, just to save face or not being cancelled. They could just come out and apologize for it. Then you have others like you mentioned Dave Chappelle moments ago, who I don't think really cared. From what you said, I think that's what I took from that. He didn't really care, and I think I agree with him when he said Twitter is not a place.
It's not a
real place. No, it's a social media thing. So there are some, or maybe Dave Chappelle actually just understood what's going on. That, you know what, cancel me or not, I'm still going to sell out my show. My show is going to sell out, so it's not going to have any effect. But there are times though. And here's the thing. It also seems to me that people can use the cancel culture, this mob mentality we're talking about, to address personal grievances against other people.
Right.
It can be, especially if that grievance is against, once again, an influencer, somebody popular, or something like that. There was one I had a while ago, comedian James Corden, who I think is a British comedian, right? On one of the late shows.
And then he does, I think, what is it that was popular there? Carpool karaoke or something that he also does.
I think so. I'm not even sure what it does because his show comes after the nightly was the show with Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon.
Tonight Show.
Tonight Show, and after those ones, there's another set of shows which is very late, around midnight. I'm already in bed by that time. But I know he does those late shows. But there was something I heard about him that he almost got canceled, but he didn't. That he went to a restaurant.
Oh, the restaurant.
The restaurant. He went to a restaurant.
That.
I had something. He went to a restaurant, maybe in New York or somewhere, and then the manager or the owner of the restaurant posted on Instagram and said two of his managers said the way James Corden and the people that came to the restaurant, the way they treated the staff, was not good, and it was I think. The manager actually said something, maybe he actually said people should cancel them or should boycott them. I can't remember. Something like that. But when that happened, when he posted that, and that was trending, the report was that the next day, the following day, James Corden actually called him. James Corden called him and said, and apologized. Apologized in private to him and said, is sorry for that. And then the man posted again on Instagram and said, James Corden has just called me, he has apologized, and he now said everything amended, everything is okay. Something like that. So it looks like that stopped whatever cancellation of James Corden that was already in progress. So those are the kind of things. Sometimes genuine apologies can help. Other instances like the one you shared, some apologies on the surface, just to make the thing go away. Some people also maybe engage in that, but how do you know the difference between them?
And going back to the Dave Chappelle thing, I know in one of his specials he addressed, because I know he was making jokes about like certain groups of people. I remember there was something he said, he's like, I'm not going to make any jokes about you guys until we're laughing together. That's like what he said. Okay. And so he wanted to make sure he's not usually one that addresses like controversy. He just like will make jokes about it or just like keep moving. But I think I respected him for saying that just because it's like he realized, okay, this certain group of people is maybe more sensitive than others. So it's like, okay, although he's a comedian, which that's kind of what I want to talk about. It's his job to basically make fun of people or make fun of things and things like that. He still took the time to kind of address that and say, hey, well, I'm not going to do this anymore if you're still just going to get mad and try to cancel me. So yeah, with comedians, what's your thoughts on that with cancel culture and like what they could say and things?
Well, here's the thing. Some people have, I don't know how to call it, very thin skin. They cannot take a good joke. No, there are people like that, and we know. No, I don't want to name names. We know some of those people, and as you were saying that, my mind goes back to, I think it's annually they do this White House correspondence dinner or something, where they actually bring a very well-known comedian to roast the president and the people, and the president is there. President is there, other people are there. All of them, they laugh, they joke about it. But sometimes you have people who cannot take a good joke. They cannot see it in good light because, at least, I'm not a comedian, but I know what comedians do is that they take one tiny thing about the truth about the person and they stretch it. They stretch it to some ridiculous extent to make it funny. But some people, and I feel these are people who are not secured in themselves. They just are not secured in themselves. That's the reason why they will feel offended by a joke. It is a joke. It's not a joke. It's not somebody just doing without just saying something about you.
Just making fun of you.
Just making fun of you. But even if they make fun of you, it's, I don't know. I think maybe they see that as bullying. I don't know if it almost seems like those who don't take the joke, they see it as something that is like a bully doing something to them. And
there definitely can be some jokes that are meant to be.
It can be.
Meant to bully someone.
Yeah, it can be. Actually, as we are talking about these comedians, I also remember recently, recently. I think they came out. We didn't know then. They came out. Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel came out and said that. Well, not him actually. The news came out that when Donald Trump was president, because he makes joke about Trump a lot, but not even him. Right now, he's making jokes about Joe Biden too.
Yeah, everyone makes jokes about
the
Trump was
president.
just an easy target because he's the president and he says likes to say a lot of things.
So the news came out a few weeks ago that during the time Trump was president, he actually contacted Disney. Disney is the owner of ABC. He contacted Disney and told them to rein in Jimmy Kimmel about his jokes, to stop his jokes on him. Yeah. And they said there was one news story that said he requested that a few times. The people around him just ignored it. Then I saw another news story that said they actually did call Disney. And I saw another one that said ABC actually told Jimmy Kimmel about it. And Jimmy Kimmel said he's not going to do that. If they want to take the job from him, let him take the job. That's his job. That's what he's going to do. And I think it's much more later. We're talking about more than 2 years later now that's coming out. The thing is that, yes, maybe some jokes, and I can't think. Once you know it's a joke, I think you look at it in that perspective. It's a comedian that is talking. It's a joke. They make fun of people. I have seen some of those comedians, when even though they are interviewing the president on their show or something, they make fun of them right there to their faces in the correspondent dinner that we talked about. That's the goal of that entire thing, where they come together and make fun of people. But some people, I believe, because of maybe low self-esteem, they don't have confidence in themselves, they take any negative thing that is said about them, even if it's a joke. No, they can't just take a joke. I think it's low self-esteem that makes people to respond that way.
Yeah.
You know?
And I definitely think that there sometimes is a thin line between what should be joked about and what shouldn't, especially when some people might have traumatic experiences tied to certain things, and when it's joked about, it can be triggered. But that being said, I think it just goes back to intent. It's like their job and what they're doing at that time is to be funny.
Yeah.
It's like it's purely meant as a joke, and a lot of times there is some truth to some jokes.
Yeah.
But the main purpose is to make people laugh, and I think when you realize that, most people will be a lot less offended, especially comedians who make fun of like everyone and everything.
Yeah.
It's like they're not like targeting certain people for the most part. They're like saying things because it's meant as a joke.
It's strange that it's strange that we're talking about this. I also remember there's a segment on Jimmy Kimmel. We also always watch that. It comes after the news, so we watch it as we're trying to go to bed. And there are times when he brings well-known people, either sports, well-known athletes, celebrities, and things like that. He actually brings them on to read the mean tweets. They call it mean tweets.
The mean tweets.
Tweets about them, themselves. So these people will read some of the mean tweets that people tweet about them, and you see them, they will read it and they will start laughing even those are mean tweets. Those are not from comedians. Right. Those are from just regular people who just don't like something and they tweet mean stuff about them. But they receive it and they just laugh. They laugh over it like just water in the back of a duck. You just shake it off. It doesn't get the duck wet. And I'm surprised that people in high-profile places, some people who cannot, like I said, they have a thin skin, they cannot take a good joke. I am surprised that some, especially if you are in a high-profile position like that, you are not able to take those kind of jabs at you. So
yeah,
it's people are different, I guess. So.
Right.
All right. So where do we go from here?
Well, I mean, we can kind of end it here unless you have any more thoughts, but I think it does take sometimes a level of security in yourself to be able to receive a joke sometimes.
Definitely.
Because a lot of times the people who react that way, they're probably insecure about what's being joked about or have some type of negative emotion. I just thought, did you hear about the thing with Michael B. Jordan and the interview with the reporter, some reporter?
About what? About
This is kind of a
is it
different
about
topic.
his new movie?
No, well, I think he was being interviewed for his new movie, but the person who was interviewing him apparently like went to his like high school or like elementary school, and then she called him corny back then. So like
Did he remember that?
yeah, he's the one who brought it up because like
Oh.
initially I haven't watched the actual interview. I've only watched like people's perspective on it. But she was saying something, and then he was just like all serious. He's like, "But you called me corny back then," or something along those lines.
Did she remember that he did?
Yeah, I think she did. I don't remember exactly what she said, but he's like, "Well, look at me now," or something like that. I think he kind of like played it off, but people were still like giving him a little bit of backlash because they're like, oh, "Why would you bring it up, or why would you even say that? Like, you're already successful. Why you still like holding on to something back then?"
No, but from the way you describe, I've not seen it, but from the way you describe it, it didn't look like he held on to it. I think the circumstances of the person coming to interview him
probably sparked that memory.
yeah, brought that memory back.
And especially when you're that young, when you're trying to achieve something, because I think he was maybe in theater or was trying to achieve acting. So people probably got made fun of in that way. So that definitely like sparked something, which is why he addressed it. And like I said, I haven't seen the full interview.
And it didn't seem like he made a big deal out of it. It just
I
said
think
it
he
and they kind of
was kind of like semi-serious and then kind of jokingly like just brushed it off. Because obviously he's like successful now, so there's no... but I think some people are saying, oh, you shouldn't have brought it up at all. Just be the bigger person. Don't say anything.
Well, the thing is, people, what I've learned about people, there are some people who always look for something negative. They look for something negative. They look for something to complain about. And I have a feeling it's the same people, going back to how we started, is these same people that are the ones who always be calling for the head of somebody, for them to be counseled if something happens, or they hear something, they see something they don't like, rubs them the wrong way, and they will just try to counsel people. I think there are some people who are just looking for trouble.
Oh, definitely.
They're just looking for trouble. They're looking for something to complain about. They're looking for something to gripe about. And unfortunately, social media allows
giving everyone a platform.
To be able to do that. Before Twitter and Facebook, all the social media thing came out, what avenue do people have to gripe about something, to talk about something that is bothering them? But now everybody has a voice, and we all hide behind the screen. Even though you see their name, some of those things that people even say. And I've seen instances where they are not able to say it to the face of the person.
Most people who are like have the Twitter figures, and some people say it, or will never say that to someone in real life. To
people's face.
Yeah.
So, and then we hide behind that, and I think, I don't know, it's just there's a change. Like social media has had a change in our psyche as humans. What do you find decent or indecent, how we relate, how we associate with one another, and I think we have been changed forever. We have been changed forever, because whether we like it or not, all of these tools, social media tools, are here to stay. Right. I don't see a scenario where sometime next week something happens and all of them goes away and we are not using them. No, it's never going to happen. We have already opened that kind of worms, and it may just continue to get worse and worse from there. So I think, in wrapping up, I think the responsibility is on every one of us to decide how we want to approach life, how we want to engage with other people. Are we going to take the approach of, like I said, being angry and griping about everything that we don't like? that is actually not good for every human being, because whether you like it or not, all of those things, when we do that, they are bringing up all kind of negative emotions.
Right.
Those things secrete all kind of chemicals. People don't realize that. They secrete all kind of chemicals in our brains. Some of those chemicals that release to the bloodstream, they affect people's health. A lot of research has actually shown that the way we think, our emotions and things like that, allow some secretions into our bloodstream that actually affect our health.
Right.
And those people they don't realize that they are kind of killing themselves, really, by engaging in that. So every one of us have to decide what we think is is good for us,
Right.
to engage in, and what to desist from.
So yeah, I guess in closing, like you said, I think the biggest thing with cancel culture is just the hypocrisy and then not allowing room for growth. It's good to hold people accountable, but still allow that that room to be there. But yeah, anything else you want to touch on?
No, that's it. That's it.
All right. Well, guys, this has been another episode of Crisp, the podcast. As always, leave a like on the YouTube video, give us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and we'll see you guys later.
See you next time.